The ending of Cornell Woolrich's original novel, I Married a Dead Man, is very different from the one Paramount went with. If it felt like the story maybe had one twist too many, that's why. In the book, it's never explained who killed Stephen Morley, and although Helen and Bill do end up together, they will forever be suspicious that the other one is the killer. Such ambiguity was anathema in films of this era, and screenwriters earned their money jerry-rigging upbeat endings from Woolrich's grim finishes. Despite its far-fetched plot, the story's premise has proven irresistible to filmmakers over the years, and all over the world. Versions of I Married a Dead Man have been made in Japan, Brazil, India, France, and a comedy version, Mrs. Winterbourne, was made here in 1996, starring Shirley MacLaine and Ricki Lake. Although many movies have been made from Woolrich's stories, few are able to capture the dreadful, nightmarish tone of his best work. Sometimes, however, movies can do things better, and this film contains a prime example, the scene where Morley forces Helen to marry him. In the book, an internal monologue is needed to render the precise moment Helen realizes there's only one way out. But the combination of Mitchell Lyson's deft direction and Barbara Stanwyck's subtly expressive face, the audience understands everything without her speaking a word. That shot is one of my favorite Stanwyck moments, among many. Helen Ferguson's torturous dilemma, having to hide a dark secret to protect her precarious happiness, is something Cornell Woolrich lived with his whole life. Not only did he remain deep in the closet, his self-loathing drove him to write more than a few stories mocking and abusing homosexuals. Mitchell Lyson was also gay, but in Hollywood at least it was no secret. He had a reputation as a jovial and flamboyant character, comfortable enough with himself and his place in the business to openly flirt with his leading men. Lyson began his Hollywood career as a self-taught costume designer and art director, and in the 1920s he was an indispensable jack-of-all-trades for producer-director Cecil B. DeMille. In no time, DeMille was entrusting Lyson to direct second-unit footage, and by 1933 he'd graduated to directing his own pictures. By the end of the decade, he was making undisputed classics such as Easy Living, Midnight, and Remember the Night. Yet despite his growing reputation, or maybe because of it, the writers of those pictures, Preston Sturges and Billy Wilder, openly disparaged Lyson. Both of them claimed it was Lyson's handling of their material that drove them to start directing their own scripts. Sturges called Lyson an interior decorator, not a director, a crack aimed as much at his sexual orientation as his talent. For the record, Lyson was an in-demand interior decorator, renovating the houses of his friends and colleagues when he was between assignments. Unfortunately for Lyson, he stopped getting good scripts. During the 1940s, he directed 20 movies, some with his name above the title. Yet he made only 6 features during the subsequent decade before finishing out his career in television. His final feature is a crazy footnote in film history. In 1967, he co-directed an exploitation documentary called Spree. It could have been called Mondo Las Vegas. His co-director was documentarian Waylon Green, whose first credited screenplay, The Wild Bunch, was about to be made by Sam Peckinpah. And Spree is one of only 4 writing credits for Sid Field, whose book Screenplay, The Foundations of Screenwriting, is regarded as the Bible for all fledgling screenwriters. Well, if it came with a copy of Spree, nobody would believe a word of it. Be that as it may, Spree was an ignominious end of the road for Mitchell Lyson, one of Hollywood's most undervalued talents. Next week, we'll be back with another film by a director who, like Mitchell Lyson, specialized in a genre other than noir. The great Western maestro, Bud Boetticher, takes a crack at a crime thriller with The Killer is Loose, starring Joseph Cotten, Rhonda Fleming, and Wendell Corey. Until then, Noiristas, remember that we're all in this together. until death do us part.